Thanks for checking out Chamber Web TV. This is Cambridge Votes 2014, a conversation with the candidates for the upcoming October 27th municipal election. I'm Greg DeRoche, your President and CEO of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce. And it's my pleasure to sit down with regional chair candidate, Cambridge guy, John Wolfe.
Pleased to meet you.
How are you?
Well, I'm doing well.
Tell me something. This is your first time running for public office.
Yes,
Are you having fun?
I am.
I know,
I'm enjoying
it's a great time.
Well, I meet so many people, and I've got a grassroots movement.
Yeah.
And everybody says, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you know, they're all looking for signs, but
Yeah.
I wish I had $1 million like some candidates.
Yeah.
So I could just do whatever. I'm in debt already just with my business cards.
Mhm.
But I've gotten some sponsorships, so,
Yeah.
you know, I can afford what I'm doing, and I enjoy
Yeah.
doing it.
Well, I think the beautiful thing is you do get to meet a lot of neat and interesting people, and you
do.
really see, you know, really what it takes to make up a community, which is diverse opinion, and, you know, people have,
Well, I lived in the region most of my life, so
Yeah.
I understand a lot of what's going on.
yeah. And you say you're in Preston?
Yeah, I live on King Street,
Oh,
downtown
very good.
Preston. Yeah,
Very good.
I've been there I moved in last January. I was lucky to get the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. I was living outside there. It was really cold.
Yeah.
Mr. Sealing in his region of Waterloo.
Well,
Hodges.
okay, speaking of that, I got the toughest question you'll ever be asked as a candidate for any political office, John. Why are you running?
Because I care about the future. I have kids, and I want them to not be burdened. I want them to have a better life than what I've had. And I think with my experience, I was a biologist first. I went to the University of Waterloo. But before I went to school, I worked as an ambulance driver. So I understand the frontline workers. And we need more of them, not less. I don't know what's going on with this new police chief and his economics of policing. But anyways, that's something I deal with if I get elected.
Yeah.
And then we talk about it. Oops, sorry about that. Oh, I'm early. But yeah, because I'm worried about the climate change. And I know a lot of people are. Now, I understand the chemical reactions that are taking place in the atmosphere, and I believe I have some solutions. I don't have them all, obviously. But as a region that's watched by a lot of people, I believe, keep telling us how smart we are, and we're the best of this, best in that. Maybe in this region we could go with some of my ideas and just make it a better place for the future.
Great. Awesome. Speaking of the future, the regional debt's hit an all-time high. It's been in the news the last few weeks. It's actually, I had one regional chair candidate correct me. I said it had doubled, but he says actually it's more than doubled, almost tripled in the last few years. That doesn't include the debt we're going to accumulate with the LRT as well. So regional debt is a bit of an issue. As regional chair, how would you address that?
Well, I think we have to keep our services the way they are, because we have very good water system right now, but if we keep growing, we're going to have problems. We're going to have to go to the lakes or whatever and build a pipeline. Nobody wants to do that, so we've got to try to limit the growth. I think the current council sees a 5-6% continuous growth, and I think we have to sit back and make sure we can afford it with the people that are living here now. And I think we can, but there is a debt. Mr. Sealing keeps telling us how Moody says it's AAA and how it's well within the guidelines of the province, but you know the province spends a lot of money here too.
I don't want to fit in their guidelines.
It's all your tax dollar, the province,
Yeah.
the federal. Now the LRT is a deal, I believe there's really not much you can do about the orders that they put in. My understanding that it would cost the region $250 million, $250 million just to cancel that. Plus they'd lose the federal and provincial money, which is like another $600 million. But that's your tax dollars. So,
Yeah.
you know, do you want to bite $250 million and then not worry about the $600 million you're going to lose? I don't think so. I think we can use the LRT, but we have to build it where we can reduce cars. Now, there's two busy stretches of highways, and I got this one idea from one of the people I've talked to in Cambridge. It says if they build it from Kitchener to Guelph, that would make more sense than going from one mall to another mall. And she was right. I mean, you know, they need something there. It's a very busy highway. And if we could get Guelph on board, it would help share with the cost. And I think they'd probably would. I don't know, but I think they want something.
Yeah.
And even Guelph or Kitchener to Cambridge is a very busy highway too.
Mhm.
That would make more sense than what they're doing now.
Yeah. The region and the local municipalities, all of the 7 partners in the region, are reviewing right now, looking at an economic development strategy for the future. We have Canada's technology triangle that does foreign direct investment, goes visits other places in the world and tries to attract businesses here, but they're trying to formalize a more private sector driven organization from a regional perspective. However, from a Cambridge point of view, and more the Cambridge Chamber's point of view, we're a little bit concerned, not totally, but we understand that there's need for a global think about how our region should grow and where we should partner. However, with the LRT, there's going to need to be a concerted effort from the region to focus on economic development along that corridor. We need people and businesses along that corridor in order to make the LRT successful. That said, Cambridge might be sitting, because we're an industrial community.
Oh,
We're
we're
the largest per capita factory worker in the province of Ontario. We're not going to put LRT out in the industrial subdivisions. It just doesn't happen that way. Cambridge might find itself in a little bit of a situation of feeling left out, that our attention to economic development isn't going to be a priority in a regional scope. What do you think about regional economic development?
Well, I think the region forgot that Cambridge is part of the region. I think a lot of people in Cambridge don't realize they can vote for the regional chair and the regional councillors.
Mhm.
And that's both the municipal's fault and the region's fault for not educating people that they can vote and they're part of the region. That's why they feel left out. But maybe that's part of the strategy, I don't know. But I think it's a bonus that you have so much industrial land here, because there's a lot of people who just want to work, raise a family, and not worry about their jobs being taken away from them. Now, right now, I see what's happened is that temp agencies are involved with a lot of these businesses. And that's an easy way for a lot of people to get jobs. And they don't get paid as well. There's usually not any benefits.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it.
No long-term security.
Now, if you kept the temp agencies, because it's the way it's working, and somehow gave these people benefits, it would be a big bonus. And that's what we have to sell. So we have lots of people available to work. They're non-union jobs on the most part. And we have the land. I mean, one person suggested we build a NASCAR racetrack here. Now, I think that would be a profitable thing to do, but not for NASCAR to come here, just for people to go there and, because there's a lot of motorcycles in this area, up and down King Street. And a lot of nice cars too, but I know they have one just outside Ottawa. But you could go there and you pay your fee and you could race on a nice, safe course. That might be something that the private sector might be interested in. I think this would be a good area for something like that.
Yeah, I think so. As you probably know, or maybe you don't know, but the Chamber was opposed to the LRT. We were opposed to public transportation. We believe it's essential and critically important. We were opposed to it principally because we thought it was the wrong technology at the wrong time, and that, the big issue was Cambridge is going to have to pay its fair share when there really looks like down the road it's going to be a long, long time, if ever, that it ever comes to Cambridge. That said, it's here. We're going to get it. Cambridge should be getting stage 2 as quickly as possible. We should be making every effort. We've got a provincial government that has a mandate. They've got billions of dollars set aside for infrastructure development. What would you do as regional chair to help inspire that project to happen faster?
Well, like I said earlier, I think we should build 2 stretches first before we go from Mall to Mall. Now, they're all worried up in Kitchener, Waterloo, and the regional councillors and Mr. Sealing and everybody else about gridlock. Now, the only gridlock they have up there, as far as I can tell, is when they're doing construction on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have been far better off to do one of those overhead trains that would just run down King Street.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they could still do that, and maybe build the LRT from, like I said earlier, from Kitchener to Guelph and help Guelph out in Kitchener, that stretch of highway I'm talking about. I mean, if we shared the costs that way, or another busy stretch is from Kitchener to Cambridge. And I think both those ways would be far better served per dollar, because I think you take cars off the road. And I think cars are a main culprit in the global warming, climate change, because of all the people don't think about it. But you turn on your car and there's all sorts of stuff coming out of that exhaust.
Yeah.
What's dripping out is water, but there's a lot of other chemicals,
Yeah.
and they just don't realize it because it's invisible.
Yeah.
But I understand the chemical reactions and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be a good idea to try to reduce cars.
Yeah.
Get more buses.
Yeah, exactly. Go service to Cambridge. We've been fighting it. Not fighting. It's a wrong word. We've been advocating for it for 30 years or more. We think it's important. It's great that Kitchener's got it, and it's great that the Premier came along and said we're going to do two-way all day from Kitchener. However, if you live at the south end of Kitchener and Cambridge, you're likely not going to drive back into Kitchener to get on a 2-hour and 10-minute ride down to Union Station. Cambridge, that ride from Cambridge would be about an hour and 10 minutes straight into Union Station. It would probably service not just Cambridge, but it would service the south end, maybe even others that want a faster commute in. What would you do as regional chair to help advocate for that?
Well, the tracks available here, as far as I know, there is this old station with railway tracks, but they end up going towards Hamilton, St. Catharines, and Niagara Falls, and that's my understanding. And if you want to do a GO service that goes that way, I don't see why we couldn't. To lay tracks going to Toronto, I'm not sure if that's feasible because of the Niagara Escarpment and everything else that would be in the way.
You need to catch it at Milton. You need to hook into the Milton line, which is about 18 kilometers.
I think what would be better is if we got bullet trains going in this province, because starting from Windsor, going, having stops in like London and Kitchener and Toronto, Oshawa, all the way up to Montreal, and maybe go over to Ottawa.
Yeah.
Now that would be ideal.
I always said if you want to get people off the 401, put a bullet train right down the middle of it, flying by everybody, and then you'd say, why am I not on that?
Yeah, I mean, if we get enough people going on trains and buses and LRT, maybe that would open up the trucks on the on the 401
instead of idle.
Because they're the ones that really chew up the highway, anyways, and then maybe put a little bit of a toll somewhere.
Yeah.
So I know you're, but most of these trucks are working for somebody else. They write it all off. So and if you got a lot of money, you're not going to give up your car anyways.
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe if
convenience. It's a convenience factor too. It's very
true.
very difficult. Very difficult for people to do that. I've said.
But you got to think of the future and why I'm running.
Yeah.
I'm running because I think the future should be better, not worse for our kids.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave them with a lot of debt and a lot of pollution, and they just have more problems.
Speaking of transportation, we have a wonderful airport. At least I think so. I use it as often as I can, even though. You have to fly into O'Hare and change planes and go somewhere else. I would do that. I'd rather do that for two reasons. One, certainly to support the airport and make sure that we keep that service. Secondly, a lot of people don't know this, but O'Hare Airport, they have phenomenal burgers. They have great burgers.
Hey, if you go to New York City and land at the one, you can buy lobster right there.
Yeah, I know. Like these airports there's some of them, they've really picked up but anyway. If you're ever in O'Hare, you got to go to this burger joint. It's the best burger.
I know there's a Y not far from there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the biggest Y I've ever been to. YMCA.
But you know what? This is an essential component. We've got WestJet flights out west. We lost the one to Ottawa, but that was because Bearskin lost their contract with the Ottawa airport. But there were lots of people using it, and we're working hard to get some other service there. But the region recently did a study. They looked at should they, shouldn't they, is it important or isn't important? There were 4 options. One was do nothing, just keep plugging away, keep throwing $6 million a year at the airport to balance it out. The second one was basically the same thing, only maybe paint the outside of the building, make it look a little bit better. Option 3, though, was very interesting. Really spoke to trying to mitigate some of the taxpayers' funding of it and bring private sector dollars into it to expand the airport. And it looked at, noise mitigation by lengthening the runways so that you could get planes coming in from a different direction that isn't going to be obtrusive to people landing or taking off. What do you think about our airport? Is it that key economic driver that we think is important?
I think it could be. I remember when it first opened up, Northwest used to have a package deal that go to San Francisco for $99. I mean, where are you going to do that?
Oh.
Now they left.
10 minutes from your home.
Yeah. Now they left, and what we have to do is get the private sector, like travel agents.
Yeah.
Like I know you were saying O'Hare and the burgers. I said, well, why not try the lobster in New York City?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not that far a flight, and why go to Toronto and you have to wait like 3 hours to
I
get
know.
into a plane to go for an hour
Oh,
ride?
drives me nuts having to go there.
I mean, if we could get travel agents finding people who want to go to New York City, and then other people who want to take the plane back, or it wouldn't even matter. I mean, the plane could go there and go wherever else. But it's good to have somebody coming here with passengers as well as going.
Yes.
Otherwise, it'll make it more expensive. That's where you
Yeah.
need the travel agents. And there's other places people like to go to Florida
Yeah.
and down to Vegas. I know.
I
gambling
think
is-
those winter ones that they do
Arizona.
out here have been Sunwing. I think they do some.
Yeah, they do some, but
Yeah.
these other places people would like to go to 24/7
Yeah.
probably, But you can't have it at night because there's a lot of people still living in the area. But maybe if it got really big, we'd have to see about maybe purchasing some of those properties,
Yeah.
and that way they can move somewhere and have a nice home that isn't affected by
Yeah.
the noise.
Yeah.
I know if you go to Toronto sometimes, you just see people watching the planes take
I
off.
know. I've done that. If I've gotten
Well, I've
early
never
or something,
actually
and
done that, but
if I come in the back way, I remember one time there was some traffic jams, and I thought I'm going to go around the airport, and I'd never done that before, and you're kind of rural, but there's the runway, and so I was really early. I pulled over the side of the road and could watch planes getting ready and
it's
taking
amazing
off.
just watching them. How do they
It's
stay up
beautiful.
there?
You
You don't see anything, but there's lots coming out of them
Yeah.
too, eh?
Oh yeah.
And I remember when I started working with a company called Dynamex.
Yeah.
I was an international courier for them, and they used to just have planes come in to Breslau any time of night because there's somebody in St. Louis where plane's down, and so they get it from there and they fly to the Detroit airport, and then I'd be in Detroit, or somebody be in Detroit and pick it up and bring the parts here or go back the other way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of uses for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And, we just have to have the private sector realize that it's there.
Yeah.
Have customs people and
Yeah.
bond.
No, it's a very convenient airport.
There's
I
a
love
lot
it.
that could be done.
Yeah.
I just thought about it. In the private sector.
And
once
it
they
could
get in
inject.
there-
We think it could inject a lot of money into our economy here.
Well, it should, because they'd have to pay fees to let
Yeah.
work out of there
Yeah.
and stuff.
John Wolf,
Yes.
what's your Waterloo region look like in 25 years?
Well, I'll be in my 80s, so hopefully I can still see.
Yeah.
I think the population will be stabilized by that time. I think we'll still have a huge debt, but it'll be worth it because we won't have to go to the pipeline system that a lot of people are worried about. Because we got a good artesian well system in this area, and we just have to realize that there's only so much that you can use, or else you have to build a pipeline, and that'll be so. Well, we won't have the same water system
Yeah.
we have now. I think a lot of the structures that are being built will be used. I don't think there'll be as many people as they think that's going to be here, because a lot of people want the community to be friendly to the environment, so it'll change. There'll be less cars, there'll be more bike paths, more people walking to work, more people taking the bus. LRT will be finished by then, hopefully. But if the way they're doing it may not be.
Yeah.
But if they go for some ideas I have, I think it'll be a beautiful place to live.
Awesome.
Because I want people in the agricultural community, because that's part of the region too.
Yeah.
There's lots of food out there, and we grow more than we can ever use. So I think they have to think about climate change and maybe planting different types of trees that'll adjust for the climate.
Yeah.
Because that's what the world needs, is more trees and less cars.
Yeah.
If we all do a little, it'll end up being a lot, and maybe we'll save this planet.
Great comments. Well, thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out Chamber Web TV. This is Cambridge Votes 2014. Conversation with candidates for the upcoming October 27th municipal election. Again, I'm Greg DeRocher, and it's been my pleasure to sit down with Regional Chair candidate John Wolf.
Yes, pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.